Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Wrap, brought to you by Michigan Medicine Headlines. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Lilia Simic, also with the Department of Communication. Today, we're going to get to know one of our amazing colleagues just a little bit better. James Cech is a medical American Sign Language interpreter here at Michigan Medicine, who also performs theater and music in his free time.
Now, before we talk to James about his work and outside interests, be sure you get caught up on any episode of The Wrap you may have missed. You can find the shows in your favorite podcast hosting platform, on Headlines, or on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel.
With that, let's get to know James Cech. James, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
All right, first, can you discuss your role as an interpreter and why it's so crucial in a healthcare system?
Yeah, I think the professional lingo would be that I facilitate communication between patients and providers. But basically, the most important thing that we have at our health system is informed consent, right? A patient should know what's happening to them. And without a sign language interpreter for a person whose preferred language is American Sign Language, you really can't guarantee that you're getting that. That's why we're essential in the system for those patients. We also happen to be super fortunate. We have Dr. Michael McKee over at the Dexter Health Center, and he is a deaf doctor, so he can provide direct care to this patient population. He's also a fantastic researcher. And so there are just lots of needs from the patient perspective, but also from staff, our colleagues as well, in terms of conferences or meetings or things that happen. So we're kind of all over the place, and we see every single level of the health system, top to bottom. It's just a really dynamic career, which is fun.
Could you walk us through a typical day or week in your life?
I can't really compare it to anybody else's career. So a typical day is it changes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We might have a really busy day. A couple days ago, we had 4 patients show up between the adult emergency and the children's emergency. So all of the other clinic appointments that we had scheduled, all of the surgeries and planned procedures that we had scheduled, we had to cover all of those, and additionally make sure that every time a provider in the emergency setting was able to get an interpreter when they were meeting with patients or with families. So we're really flexible. We're, I think, one of the most flexible teams in the health system. But my day to day, I showed up at 7 a.m. for patient who was about to go in for open heart surgery. When they were off to sleep at 8:30, I walked over to the 12th floor of the Children's Hospital, and I interpreted for a patient who just got done having a kidney transplant surgery. I then came back to our office. I did a video visit. After that, I might drive out to Domino Farms and do a podiatry appointment. And then to end the day, I'll go do Briarwood and do an audiology appointment. And then the next day, all over the place again. I live up in Flint, so I get a lot of the Brighton Health Center or Brighton Center for Specialty Care appointments. We have interpreters on our team who will go out to Canton and Northville, down to Saline. The only clinics that we don't go to that I know of are Michigan Health West. We have colleagues in Sparrow, so we don't send ours to Sparrow, and we don't go. I think there's one in Midland, like there's a cardiac center in Midland. We don't send interpreters that far north.
So I was going to ask, do you do both video visits and in-person visits, and how sort of the emergency system works, right? If somebody walks in and needs interpreters, whether it's sign language or other languages, are you always on call, or is someone on your team always on call?
Yeah. For sign language, we have a 24/7 pager, and it's always covered. Depending on the time of day, our interpreter might connect. We have iPads that we've strategically deployed throughout the system so that we can remote triage, and depending on the need, send somebody to come in person. If we have someone on site, we'll just send them in person. So during the day, 8 a.m., 7:30 a.m. until 6 p.m., more likely that someone's going to show up to the emergency department in person when that initial page comes through. For our spoken language colleagues, we're able to utilize the over-the-phone interpreting system much more. What's the right way of phrasing that? We utilize over the phone interpreting more consistently for that, but we've got both Spanish and Arabic interpreters and Chinese interpreters in the hospital pretty frequently. The Spanish team covers a 24/7 pager just like the sign language team does.
That's awesome. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of your work? And then vice versa, what's the most rewarding aspect of this work?
The most challenging aspect of our job is trying to be in more than one place at the same time. In all honesty, um, because we have to be so flexible and because our resources are limited. We have 4 full-time staff interpreters, and then we have 20 contractors or vendors who all have to be endorsed and certified. So they have to meet state requirements to be qualified to be a medical interpreter. We have an amazing team. They give us a lot of their time, but not everybody has a consistent schedule. And so when we have an influx of inpatients or an influx of emergency department patients, just being able to handle that in a smooth and efficient manner that doesn't interrupt patient care, that's our big concern. So there's a lot of pressure to make sure that as needs arise, we're able to adapt effectively and handle all of that. You would think that, there can be some challenging medical terminology. There can also be some really challenging kind of emotional and psychological things that happen, with patients as they're receiving care or receiving news. So those can be difficult, but we're all trained and we're really a good team. So we're able to support each other when some of those things come up. And also we have gone through extensive training. So we're very well qualified to interpret those conversations and make sure that everybody understands what's happening to them. The most rewarding thing is in all honesty, I get to see somebody's health literacy increase in real time. That's the best part about it. A great example is we have a patient who we've been seeing for many years, and they had an emergent problem. The EMS took them to another area hospital that did not provide interpreters. They had to get a procedure done. And then the next appointment when they came to U of M and we were there as an interpreter, they asked our providers what happened to them at this other hospital because they had no idea. They even had a pacemaker implanted and they didn't know what was implanted and they didn't know what it was for. So it's great that the U of M commits to having interpreters so that our patients can get this information when other institutions don't offer it.
That's incredible. What's one surprising thing to kind of follow that up that people don't know about being a medical interpreter in hospitals?
I think people are surprised at the size of our team to know that there are 25 sign language interpreters. People are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there are that many patients, but there are almost 500 patients who are sign language users, I think, who are in our MyChart system that we see all over, like I said, in every health clinic, not to mention whether or not they have emergent needs. So just the sheer number of the patient population, I think, is the most surprising thing. Yeah.
Do you really get to know those patients really well, like over the years? I mean, do you form relationships with them?
So I'm going on 10 years now as a full-time staff interpreter here at the hospital. And I worked here a couple of years before that as one of the contractors and part of that team. And so at this point, yeah, I've seen everybody so frequently, even if they only come in for a couple of appointments a year, say every 6 months to follow up with their primary care provider, you get to see kids who, when I started interpreting for them, they were 10, now they're 20. And
Yeah.
I get to see them age. There are people who have a lot of health issues and comorbidities, and I see them every other week, so you really are essential to that continuity of care from provider to provider, from specialty to specialty, or even, multiple weeks with the same provider, having that information where you don't have to keep repeating it. There's not a lot of handoff. It's really amazing what our team is able to do. We do get to know our patients pretty well.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So we mentioned previously that you also like to perform in your free time, especially in theater. Do you sort of see a connection between your work as an interpreter and then as a performer and sort of what you do there?
Yeah, that's how I started, to be honest. When I was in school, I was in theater from a very young age. I can't even remember the first show I did. Um, and when I was in middle school, I met another student who's deaf and we became friends. When we then went on to high school, our theater teacher, knowing that there was a deaf student, chose to do the play Sweet Nothing in My Ear, which is a really fascinating play, especially about the controversy at the time for cochlear implantation and the deaf community's perspective and the medical community's perspective. So that was the very first show I ever did with that incorporated sign language. And from that moment on, there was definitely a cohesion between those two. That being said, I ended up auditioning for and became a performing member of a company that interprets theater. And then just a couple of years ago, I became owner of that company. So now I own a company that provides interpreters for all of the concerts that happen in Detroit. And then we provide interpreters for different theatrical performances. We have partners like Eastern Michigan University and Western Michigan University, in addition to local community theaters. So I have heavily integrated my sign language career and my interpreting background or my performing background. Before I became an interpreter professionally, before I went to school, I was living in LA. I was part of a group called the Young Americans. So I was touring internationally with them. I loved that group because it was really arts education and arts promotion focused. So whenever we would go to schools, we would teach kids, in addition to performing ourselves. And I got to a point where I had a couple of agents who were offering to put me on their roster and what I wanted to do. I decided that I didn't want to continue with that career at the time. So I came back to Michigan and got my degree in interpreting. But community theater has been an incredible place to still, pursue that passion for telling great stories and performing and making an audience have an enjoyable night out. So I continue to perform as much as I can, both with my company where I interpret through, other productions, and then I just recently have started to do more professional productions as well.
Are there any upcoming performances or projects that you're excited about and people can see or know about?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page for my interpreting company, which is Stage Hands, and we have quite a number of performances coming up where we were going to be having shadow interpreters. So our company not only does platform interpreting, which is two interpreters off to the side, but also we work with theaters where we're on stage in costume moving with the performers. So it's a fully integrative experience for deaf audience members. We have a couple of shows coming up where we're going to have shadow interpreters on stage. Some like I think Fenton with the Fenton Village Players, and Downriver with the Downriver Youth Theater. And then, so we have different performances that come throughout the year. The next thing that I've auditioned for is Flint Rep, which is the professional company in Flint, is doing American Idiot, which is the rock musical based on the Green Day album. So I just literally last week did a callback for one of the lead characters with that. So I don't know. I haven't gotten any word back yet, and I don't. It doesn't bother me to throw it out to be like, yeah, I auditioned for this show and crap, I didn't get it. I'm like, I didn't get it. Well,
Yeah,
there's always the next show.
that's amazing. I have two questions for you now. One, when do you sleep? And two, what has been your favorite role you've ever played?
Oh, I need multiple projects. It's just way my brain works. Like I read four books at the same time. I
Okay,
don't read
no,
them simultaneously, but
I
like
don't even read one book at a time.
I need to have four different books because like wherever my brain is, wherever my passion is, wherever like I have to jump around between different things depending on what's going to fill me in that moment. So the same with projects. I really just love taking what I have and what I've learned and investing. So I'll be helping out with my son's school drama program, doing choreography and stuff. Like I need to be doing that stuff. So but what it is I sleep very well at the end of the day because I have used all of my energy, right? So that's one thing. That's a tip for busy people. Um, and then what was the second half of your question? I forgot what that
What's the
part was.
favorite role you've ever played?
Oh, I'm going to say that my favorite role was the one I just finished. I played Dewey Finn, which is the Jack Black character in School of Rock. I did it with the musical version. The reason that it was my favorite character is twofold. One, it's just a ton of fun to be that type of character, just wild, crazy rock songs, rock ballad. I got to play electric guitar on stage. And then the group of kids who were in the rock band were extremely talented And then I was so fortunate because one of them was my son. My son played the keyboard player, so we've never been in a show together before. So we had a ton of time together, being on stage together. We had this really fun scene with this back and forth that a line in the script was, all right, come back here, sit next to Papa, where he like takes on. And so everyone in the audience would die laughing. They're like, did you write that line in there? I'm like, no, it was already in the script. It just happens to be extremely appropriate in this situation.
It was meant to be then.
It was meant to be.
Circling back to your work here at Michigan Medicine, are there any particular goals you have for your work specifically as an interpreter at Michigan Medicine or for the overall Michigan Medicine community?
I really want to commend, my director for interpreter services, Michelle Harris, at the beginning of 2020, before COVID even started, created this initiative to create Facebook pages, Facebook groups, where we could take health information that was being disseminated by Michigan Medicine and make sure that it was language accessible. So piling it with 5 languages and sign language being one of those languages. And so fortunately, we had this page set up before COVID, and it became instrumental with letting people know changes to the visitor policy, what's best practices for protecting yourself. And then that's just evolved. So I really like to continue that project. The number of deaf people I've met in the community at different health fairs, or when I've gone to just community events, and they recognize like the videos that we put out there, the videos that I work on as part of this language access group, it's vital. People love having this health information from a trusted source in sign language, not a translation, not where they have, or not where they have to read it in English, and not where it's like a condensed version, but like it's essentially a translation because there's no written form of American Sign Language. The video makes it frozen, right? And so that's really been beneficial to the community, and I think that it's important that we continue to make more information accessible.
I love that. Thank you so much, James, for sharing your story with us and for, tiring us out by just describing what your life seems to be like. I'm tired, but I will sleep well at the end of the night. So thank you for that. If you want to learn even more about James's work here at Michigan Medicine, check out the latest People of Michigan Medicine feature at mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
Okay, it's time for the lightning round when we ask our guests 4 quick fire questions. James, are you ready to go?
I don't know. Hopefully.
You'll see. I think you'll be able to get these questions right. So I know that I've seen you on the big screen at the big house doing sign language for the national anthem and things like that. What would you say is the coolest place or the coolest event that you've ever signed for?
Off the top of my head, one of the funnest things is I interpreted for the Jonas Brothers last year, and I was up on the big screen. And so people came up to me afterward and said, "You look like the 4th Jonas Brother." So that was pretty funny.
I think Lily is speechless now.
Oh my God, that is such a good compliment. I would say take that and run. Oh
Did.
They're the best.
Banked it.
Can you quickly teach us something to sign?
Wow, there are a lot of great signs that we could do. How about just like, how are you today?
Mhm.
I mean, that's a nice one. So you're going to like the more formal signs, you'll take both of your hands and you'll just almost flip them over. How you can take one hand and just kind of move it back together.
Oh.
So it's how are you, or how are you with an open palm, right? How are you? So some people might do this, like, how are you? But the more formal way of doing it, how are you?
I love that.
Yeah.
And 2 different ways of doing it.
Right.
That's great. All right. So now as an interpreter, of course, language is at the forefront of your team's work. And that got me thinking about travel. So if money weren't a factor, where's one place you would love to travel?
My bucket list is a million places long. If I had to pick one place right now, I would pick some place I haven't been to. And to be honest, it would probably be Patagonia in South America. I've just seen incredible footage of the vistas and the views and just the things that are around there. And I've not been to the south of South America. I've been to the north end of South America, so I'd love to explore more there.
Now, staying closer to home and summer is winding down, can you tell us your favorite thing to do during the summer around Michigan?
100%. It's go to Lake Michigan and have a beach day. Yeah, we just got to do that as a family this last weekend. We went up to Frankfurt, which has a cute little beach, a great downtown. It's just a little bit south and west of Traverse City. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't have told everybody. Now
I
everybody's going to
know,
go
now
there.
it's not a secret.
Dang
Yeah.
it. It was a great spot. No, seriously, you should go. It's an incredible little place. The little Michigan towns on the coast are just perfect. Visit them all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's awesome. Thank you so much, James, for playing along, giving us insight into your career, giving us insight on where to go along Lake Michigan. You perform such a critical function here at Michigan Medicine. And if you want to learn even more about James's work, be sure you go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org. All right, Lilia. So we just got to know James a little bit, but our loyal listeners and viewers of the Wrap may not know you at all. So let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your role here? How are you now all of a sudden on the Wrap? And what have you liked about your time here at Michigan Medicine?
I'm happy to be here for the first official time. Once again, I'm Lilia Simic. I'm a communications specialist with the internal communication team. I've been at my current role since the beginning of April. I started on April Fool's Day. Dun, dun, dun. I should
A joke on all of us.
Yep, surprising. But I've been specifically with the internal communication team a year prior because I had the chance to be an intern, which was so much fun that I decided I wanted to stick around, and they also wanted me to stick around, which was great. What I've liked the most so far, at least, is meeting so many different people that do incredible things in the hospital system, such as James, and just getting to highlight them and learning what they do and how they help patients heal and how they make employees thrive and all of that under the sun. And I've also loved just building relationships with my team members, specifically team members who were interns like I was. I got to learn from them, and now I get to help our current.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we are happy to have you. Like you said, you started as an intern and we decided we weren't getting rid of you. So thank you for sticking around. And I agree with you. I think in communication, the coolest thing we get to do is tell other people's stories. And, I say there's 35,000 people who work at Michigan Medicine. There's at least 35,000 stories that we could tell. And we get to do that, and we get to know people and see what drives them. And I think that's really cool. So thank you for being here, and thank you for doing a great job on the Wrap. And thank you, James, for joining us this week. And of course, one final thank you to all of our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other. We'll see you next time.